Ladies and gentlemen, what separates the ones who have from the ones who wish they had isn't talent, luck, or background. It's the quiet decision to force themselves into action when everything inside them says wait. The future doesn't arrive because we hope it will. It arrives because we take charge of our own hands, our own habits, our own hours, and we get it done. You see, every success story is written with ink called effort. Not the kind of effort that feels good, but the kind that feels like work, the kind you don't always want to do, the kind that requires you to get up when you feel tired, to show up when nobody's watching, to work when comfort says rest. Force yourself because comfort has never made anyone significant. Most people wait for motivation. The top 5% understand that motivation doesn't start the process, discipline does. When you do what you must do, motivation will come knocking later as a reward. The winners of life have trained the muscle of self-command. They do not negotiate with their excuses. They do not debate with their feelings. They give themselves an instruction and they obey it. That's how fortunes are made. That's how health is rebuilt, skills are sharpened, and confidence is earned. There's a voice in all of us that whispers, not now, maybe tomorrow. That voice has stolen more dreams than failure ever did. Turn that whisper into your enemy. Tell it that today is the only day you own, and now is the only moment that matters. Force yourself to stop waiting. Force yourself to start the project, make the call, read the book, invest the time, endure the pain. Because each time you push yourself to act, you grow the most important habit of all, the habit of follow through. So let us not complain about the distance. Let us lace up our shoes and start walking. Let us not pray for lighter burdens. Let us build stronger backs. Let us not hope for an easier life. Let us become tougher people. By doing what must be done, whether we feel ready or not, we forge character. And character, carried long enough, becomes destiny. My friends, greatness isn't given, it's claimed. And the price is simple, the willingness to do the hard things consistently without excuse. Force yourself because one day soon, everything you dreamed of will stand on the other side of the work you were brave enough to do. Personal responsibility is the birthplace of progress because it marks the moment a person decides to take ownership of their life instead of waiting for circumstances to change or for someone else to create improvement. Progress does not begin with external information, opportunity, or assistance. It begins inside when a person accepts that they are ultimately accountable for what happens next. This mindset is the seed from which growth sparks. When you blame others, you give away your power. When you adopt responsibility, you claim that power back. It is the internal shift from victim to creator, from passive to active, from drifting to directing. All advancement, whether financial, intellectual, spiritual, or emotional, begins the moment someone stops pointing fingers and starts saying, I will handle this. Taking personal responsibility means realizing that although you may not control all the events in life, you do control your reactions to them. It is understanding that your choices, thoughts, and behaviors shape what you experience. That belief is powerful because it frees you from waiting. Instead of feeling stuck and hoping for better conditions, you start asking yourself what you can do with what you have. When someone makes that mental leap, effort follows. You begin educating yourself, practicing new disciplines, setting new goals, keeping promises to yourself, and adjusting what is not working. That consistent pattern of action built on responsibility is what drives progress forward. Without that mindset, a person will remain in the same place year after year, wondering why nothing changes. Responsibility creates clarity. You start looking at your habits honestly. You ask whether the way you spend your time is aligned with the outcomes you say you want. You examine how your own decisions have contributed to your current circumstances. That self-analysis might be uncomfortable, but it produces power because you can only improve what you acknowledge. Once you take responsibility, you also start planning differently. You set your direction rather than relying on luck. You write goals instead of vague hopes. You structure routines that reinforce your desired future. Responsibility makes your life intentional. Progress rarely happens by accident. It is born from deliberate action repeated over time. By taking ownership, you cultivate discipline and focus, two of the greatest tools of advancement. Furthermore, responsibility toughens your character. When things go wrong, instead of immediately blaming others, you learn to adjust, adapt, and grow. You begin to view challenges not as unfair setbacks, but as training opportunities. This resilience is essential because progress is never smooth. The road to success is full of obstacles, losses, rejections, and delays. A person who refuses responsibility during tough times becomes burned out and stuck. They spend more energy defending their ego than solving their problems. A person anchored in personal responsibility remains fluid and strong. They accept the situation, learn what they need to learn, and keep moving. That persistence is the engine of progress. Each time you move forward despite difficulty, you gain experience, skill, and confidence. Over time, those small victories accumulate and change your life. Personal responsibility also improves your relationships and environment. When you hold yourself accountable, you naturally elevate your standards. You become reliable, honest, and trustworthy. Others start to count on you. Opportunities come because the world rewards people who take initiative. Employers want people who don't require constant hand-holding. Leaders want team players who can be trusted to handle tasks. Responsibility becomes attractive. It creates a positive feedback loop where responsibility leads to progress, which leads to even more responsibility and bigger stages on which to grow. Irresponsibility, on the other hand, shrinks your world. People avoid depending on you, chances dry up, and even if you are talented, you appear unreliable. Progress halts. So, personal responsibility is the foundation upon which all continued opportunity rests. Moreover, taking responsibility develops self-respect. When you live a life where you hold yourself accountable, you naturally start to take pride in your achievements. You become someone you trust. You no longer need external validation to feel worthy because you know you are doing the right work. This internal confidence propels you to new heights. People with high self-respect set larger goals, accept bigger challenges, and ultimately make more progress. Those who constantly blame never feel truly empowered or confident because deep down they know they are avoiding their duty. So, taking responsibility is not just about duty to others. It is a gift to yourself. It aligns your behaviors with your values, which brings peace and satisfaction even during hard times. Another reason personal responsibility is the birthplace of progress is that it creates momentum. Once you accept everything in your life as your responsibility, you start acting immediately. Action creates results. Results bring feedback. Feedback shows what is working and what is not. With that information, you refine your approach. That constant cycle of action, feedback, and refinement builds a rhythm. Over time, that rhythm becomes progress. People who wait for perfect conditions never start. People who rely on external help become stagnant when that help disappears. People who own their journey stay in motion regardless of conditions. Motion makes progress inevitable. Personal responsibility is what fuels that motion even when motivation is low. In a wider sense, responsibility connects you to your purpose. When you ask yourself what kind of person you want to become and what kind of life you want to create, you understand that no one else can live your life for you. that awakening transforms everyday tasks into a mission. Taking care of your health is no longer a chore, it is a responsibility to yourself so that you can live your fullest potential. Learning new skills becomes a duty, not because someone told you to, but because you understand your growth depends on it. Earning money, managing time, caring for relationships, all become active responsibilities you choose because you want to honor your potential. That sense of purpose makes your effort meaningful, which sustains you through hard work. Meaningful effort always leads to progress because it is tied to something deeper than simple pleasure. Additionally, responsibility creates freedom. At first, it might seem like constantly holding yourself accountable is restrictive. In truth, the opposite is more confining. When you blame others and dodge responsibility, you remain trapped by your circumstances. You give away your ability to change. When you take responsibility, you liberate yourself to shape your destiny. Freedom is not the absence of responsibility, but the presence of self-chosen responsibility. The more responsibility you accept, the more freedom you gain. You become free to build, to change, to create, to influence. You are no longer a prisoner of excuses. That freedom multiplies your progress because you are no longer waiting for the world to change. You are changing it yourself, starting with you. Thus, personal responsibility is the birthplace of progress because it turns passive dreamers into active doers. It is the moment you step behind the wheel of your life and decide to steer. After that decision, every day becomes a chance to move forward, to correct mistakes, to deepen commitment, to sharpen skills, to build something noble. Without responsibility, life happens to you. With responsibility, life happens for you. All positive change, all improvement, all advancement flows from that one decision. I will own my life. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment because it is the consistent behavior that transforms intention into reality. Goals begin as visions or dreams, pictures in the mind of what could be. Accomplishment is the tangible result, the achieved career, the improved body, the financial success, the completed project. The space between the dream and the result is usually wide and challenging. Discipline is what allows a person to walk across that space rather than remaining stuck on the side of desire. Without discipline, a goal stays a wish. With discipline, a goal becomes a blueprint for daily action. Those daily actions, repeated over time, construct the reality that becomes accomplishment. Goals are exciting because they show potential. They give direction and spark hope. However, without discipline, goals often fade. Many people set goals at the start of the year with strong enthusiasm, only to abandon them within weeks. The difference is not that the goals changed, but that discipline was absent. Discipline is doing what needs to be done even when motivation has faded. It means showing up with effort not only on the good days, but on the ordinary and difficult days as well. That repetitive commitment creates momentum and routines. Over time, routines become habits, and habits become a lifestyle. That lifestyle is what produces accomplishment. So discipline is not a single act. It is the repeated choice to keep moving even when feelings fluctuate. Discipline creates focus. There are always distractions competing for attention, and without discipline, a person can drift from one thing to another, never staying with anything long enough to see results. Discipline tells a person where to place their energy and how to ignore the noise. It helps convert long-term goals into short-term tasks. A goal is often a broad and distant desire. Discipline turns that desire into a daily command. Write for 30 minutes, practice for an hour, save a portion of income, study a new skill, maintain one healthy habit. These small steps might not seem impressive in the moment, but slowly they build the pathway to success. Without discipline, however, people skip steps, postpone tasks, and quit at the first difficulty. That is why accomplishments require discipline, not merely dreams. Discipline also builds resilience. On the journey toward any significant goal, setbacks are inevitable. The disciplined person does not run back to comfort at the first sign of hardship. Instead, they adjust and persist. Discipline empowers them to rise early when they would rather sleep, to continue learning when something is confusing, to remain calm and consistent when the process seems slow. This level of resilience is often what separates the accomplished from the average. Discipline refuses to let temporary emotions have permanent consequences. It keeps the person moving through rough terrain until the path smooths again. Without that resilience, the journey ends prematurely and the goal remains unfulfilled. In addition, discipline ensures integrity with oneself. People who lack discipline are often disappointed not only with their results, but with their own behavior. They feel frustrated when they fail to keep promises to themselves. Discipline, however, builds self-trust. Each time a person commits to a task and follows through, their confidence rises. They begin to believe in their capacity to achieve bigger goals. This upward spiral of trust and action drives them to take on even greater challenges. Accomplishment becomes not just about external success, but also about internal growth and self-respect. Discipline is therefore the tool that forges character while building results. Another reason discipline bridges goals and accomplishment is that it manages time wisely. Time is the one resource everyone receives equally, but how it is used determines the difference in outcomes. Discipline teaches a person to prioritize the important over the urgent, the meaningful over the convenient. It helps avoid procrastination and reduces wasted hours. A person with discipline uses time as an investment toward their goals rather than as an escape from responsibility. Minute by minute, they lay bricks of progress. Eventually, those bricks form a structure that others admire. That structure is accomplishment. Meanwhile, the undisciplined often wonder where their time went and why their life has not changed as they hoped. Discipline also reduces the influence of excuses. Limiting beliefs, fears, and justifications often whisper reasons to delay effort. The timing isn't perfect. The conditions are not ideal. Others might judge. Discipline quiets those excuses. It moves regardless of uncertainty. It does not wait for perfect conditions, knowing that perfection rarely arrives. Instead, discipline trusts that beginning and continuing is more important than planning endlessly. By taking the next step despite doubts, discipline builds competence and clarity. That is how opportunities are discovered and talent is sharpened. Discipline creates forward motion, and motion attracts resources that were previously hidden. Thus, discipline is not restrictive, as many think. It is liberating because it gives access to possibilities that only appear to those who stay committed. As discipline grows stronger, it becomes a lifestyle rather than a burden. The disciplined individual does not constantly wrestle with whether to act. The decision has already been made and embedded in their routine. This automation frees mental energy for creativity and strategic thinking. Instead of using willpower to decide whether to work, they use their willpower for how to work smarter. This level of consistent, intelligent effort produces remarkable outcomes over time. When outsiders observe these accomplishments, they sometimes attribute it to luck or talent. Yet behind those results lies day after day of disciplined action. In the end, discipline is vital because dreams have no material form. They must be built through hours of consistent effort. Accomplishment is the result of stacking one disciplined day upon another. Just as a bridge is constructed from many interconnected parts, discipline constructs the link between what we want and what we achieve. Without that link, the gap remains open, and goals remain isolated on the far side of possibility. With discipline, the gap closes, and goals turn into tangible results that enrich life and inspire others to build their own bridge of discipline toward their desired future.